Hello, and welcome back to Method Muse, where we talk about science-based manifestation methods and concepts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into this topic. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about how memory works and how it forms your desires and expectations in manifestation. So, the first thing to understand is memory and the neural states. When your brain records an event, in reality that occurs, that it could be anything internal, it could be anything external. It's not recording the event itself. It records the chemical signature, the particular chemical cocktail of emotional stress or chemical changes that happened during an experience. Your mind makes up a story of interpretation of what that meant. And that's what you access when you think you're accessing a memory. The real memory is the chemical signature change. Okay? So we always have bias in our memories because we interpret them through our current lens. And what we're actually accessing when we think of riding our bike as a kid, we're accessing a memory of a memory. And often just like one particular moment. And I think of these as like story points in the choose your own adventure of the Matrix. Okay, I think these are almost like these memories aren't the entire day, right? They're not always every detail that was in. You might remember specific details, what you were wearing, how you had your makeup. Maybe there was something specifically important about that. But the rest of it is almost like one single moment that expands in your mind to fill a huge space of childhood, right? But if you think about how many exact memories from childhood can you come up with, it certainly doesn't fill years of space. Your brain has to be very selective because it uses a lot of energy. It uses like 20% of the body's energy. It's just this tiny little thing in your head, but it uses a lot and it needs it to be able to tag everything that's going on in your body, tag everything that's going on in your externally, inside your mind, inside your system. It's doing a lot of work. So wherever it can cut corners, it will. And this is why we have these biases. We have to have limitations within our character to understand the context of how we operate within the system. So when you remember like the event, it triggers that same chemical state in your body, right? So you get a new interpretation of the same chemical state, which is actually a copy of that chemical state. Because remember, your body's changed by this point too. So your brain basically like projects that signature as like a sort of expectation. This is what we expect from this particular situation or event, right? And it's not like the brain has any kind of, actual interaction with the world. It's interacting through our senses, through our eyes. It's not recording objective raw reality. It's filtering experiences and sensations that we are pulling from reality. This is why our thoughts are emergent properties, just like in a quantum system. We are a quantum system from our brain and our system. And the expectation versus reality, when that mismatch happens, is when we feel discomfort because it feels chaotic and discordant from what we perceive ourselves to be, what we perceive the world to be. So when you're setting an intention or you're trying to manifest something, your brain is pulling from memory to decide what have I seen in relation to this concept thing, word, like money, right? That's money. That's a very tiny word for a very broad concept of what money could mean to you at any given time. Is money a new car? Is money a house? Is money stability? Is money safety? Is money freedom? You see how this works? The word itself is a trap. It's a parasite, but it's also symbiotic because it's helping us communicate that we're feeling a desire to have freedom in some way, expansion in some way. And money is a good word for that. And other people will understand it, right? So when you get a mismatch of expectation of I should have money to feel safe, I should have money to be able to go to school, to go to other countries, to travel, to do whatever it is that you're wanting to do with this money. If you don't see it, your brain immediately drops dopamine levels to indicate a lack of success. If it's not literally like right there in front of you, right? So what you got to do is when that inevitable little situation occurs, start looking for evidence of where you already have the experiential feeling of the money, right? And when you're reconstructing the past, when your brain starts pulling up these old files, I mean, there's really just a blurry outline of basically like a particle in a zero state where it's just, it's active, but it's not being anything, right? And you can apply anything to that. This is where a lot of the time you end up with false memory formation because you can have a really vivid dream of something and wake up and feel entirely like it was real, like your brain doesn't know the difference. It simulates these things so perfectly. It will be visceral. You will feel it. You might be like in an argument with somebody in the dream and you wake up and you're mad at that person, right? You're like, how could you do this to me? Like, wait, they didn't do that here. But your mind feels like it is because that chemical signature of betrayal, the feeling of betrayal, whatever the events were, doesn't matter. The brain will just latch onto whatever makes sense. And it'll fill in the gaps. It hallucinates like Chat GPT, like not even kidding. Your brain hallucinates like Chat GPT. It fills in the blanks with whatever makes sense to your character, into your story, into your memories, into your beliefs, and the structure of how you are running your system right now. So, since it can't distinguish between a really felt imagination and a physical real experience, it's important to apply discernment to your memories, not to automatically accept them as base level reality, right? You say, I have this terrible memory of something happening as a kid. There were a lot more circumstances happening around it that you could not have comprehended from a childhood perspective with a lack of experience. So you don't want to, accidentally weaponize your past against yourself. You can use this though. You can use your memories as a sort of blurry state potential to reference what certain things did make you feel like then to kind of get an idea of what they might feel like now. So let's say when you had you were a kid, and let's go with the money thing. Let's say when you were a kid, you didn't have money. Like you guys had to struggle and you just didn't have everything you wanted and you felt like you didn't have as much as the kids at school. Now you see how these memories can start forming into an identity predictive process of I am a poor person, right? I'm a poor kid. And somewhere inside you, if that ever happened, there's still an identity of a poor kid, still being accessed in objective reality, right? When you touch that memory of that state and it gets replicated in your current system. But you can change that and you can even add stuff in. I mean, honestly, you can. I'd be careful about doing that, but you could just put in a memory of, I found a bunch of money one day. I actually did have that happen to me one day, so it like made me think of it. And how do I know that that really happened or not? Or did I just give myself an auto suggestion? You know? But I do remember finding like $50 when I was a kid, and I like had no money at the time. And now it just feels like this natural thing that I would find $50, right? Did I ever actually find that $50? I don't know. I don't have anybody to corroborate my story. I was by myself. Maybe that never really happened. Maybe I dreamed about finding it and maybe I dreamed about spending it. This is where reality gets so tricky. So it's really important to stay present when you're addressing past memories. Be in your present mode. Understand that you are in a master manifestation state, that you are able to observe now, that you are able to change your programming and change the situations and change the anchors. So always approach it from a place of potential and possibility, not absolute fact. So I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more about how memory works in coloring your desires and expectations and in tracing the edges of your manifestation, giving it depth, and how those memories are really just chemical signatures you're accessing again. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for the Method News newsletter in the description below.